There are certainly more games today that are online that has ever been before. But in general, this is still pretty much an experimental field, and people are still discovering things and learning things. The good thing about this is that you get to jump the train while it's still in the station, you know, and get on a journey at least when everyone else is going. And that's always good, you know, if you don't have to run after other people.
So can I have a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Did you perhaps talk about it with Tara M. Klepper? She's a US blog designer that she's been doing online labs for a couple of years.
Sure, still an emerging field. Your point is valid, but mine is as well.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I will be primarily talking about our experiences here. These are mostly hit and miss, and were created or were made out of necessity. And why is this relevant to you? Well, probably you will find yourself in a similar situation. So perhaps you might learn from us a little bit, and perhaps avoid some mistakes that we made, and be quicker to adopt some good practices or things that work. Again, before we start, I would like to see who I'm dealing with here. How many people in the room are the LARP organizers? Whoa. All right. How many people who are just playing? Just playing. Okay. How many people came here to find out how to make an online game? Well, you are going to be disappointed all day. Because this is not quite about it. But we'll see. Perhaps we can. We should tell me why. Because we've had like a bunch of events when there were computer games or games in general, but we have several.
Sound design, and yeah, it was very nice game.
Okay, thank you. There were hands. Yeah, go, John.
The thing is that first I have been to real life.
Kind of sort of like a mix between Facebook and Twitter. Everybody saw everything. It was pretty nice assistance to the game, but as a sole means of creating a LARP, I have to say it's not something I enjoy, and not something I think that would be very valid, apart from several situations where it would make sense that you are, for example, video conferencing, like if you were playing a LARP that was like a corporate Teams call.
Right, yeah, I hear it. Sympathize.
Yeah.
Thank you, Naz. Elektra?
I want to second what Ivan said. Like, I would really enjoy if an online LARP could be a 360, could have a 360 element, because I'm a big fan of 360. So if my office, where I'm in front of my laptop, it's part of the story, I will love it. Otherwise, I find it very difficult to get immersion. And also Zoom fatigue.
Yes. I'm sorry, just the thing, does everyone know what 360 is? Or do we need to explain?
Explain for the low.
So the basically, would you like to explain because you like it so much?
No, no. If you are
Do you want me to explain?
Say what?
Do you want me to explain?
Go ahead.
I did explain this.
A new sacrifice.
When you're talking about 360 experience in a LARP or something, that means that everything around you is also part of the LARP. So if we're LARPing here, and so there's this microphone, which is a microphone. These are these glasses, which are glasses, and if there was a LARP weapon there, it would be in 360. It would be a foam and sponge or duct tape weapon, also in 360. So if you want metal weapons, you would need metal weapon to represent it. Everything around you is 360. So if you are designing a 360 LARP and you're participating in it, you can treat everything around you as part of the LARP without pretending that it's not here or that it's something else.
Thank you, Nas.
And it's from 360-degree simulation.
Yes.
That
Yes,
everything
everything
around
around
you is simulation, part of the simulation.
Thank you, Slavik. Is that clear?
Yes.
Feel free to ask, because we tend to get, carried away and start speaking Mandarin instead of, plain English. So.
Well, tabletop RPG and LARP have many common
Terms.
terms.
Yes.
So
Okay.
we just have to elevate them to LARP.
Okay. Anyone else? Yeah. Go.
For me, it was an opportunity because in Romania we don't really have much LARP, or we don't really have it at all from what I know. And it was a good opportunity with the pandemic to play online LARPs with people from other parts. And this was good for me. And also as organizer, organized an online LARP for beginner players for teachers. And that was good because you played with backgrounds, with sound effects, with everything technology can bring, and you can't very easily do it without. But then we also had to struggle with the limitations of the platform that we were choosing.
Which platform?
I did it on Zoom, and at one point I forgot some people in a breakout.
Well, that happens.
But then for the second run, I was very good. I learned from that and managed to do it.
Okay. Thank you and welcome. I think I've met anyone from Romania here so far. So good to have you here.
Thank you.
Yeah. You.
Not so much LARP role-playing experience as much as tabletop played through LARP.
Okay.
Most of the groups I play with, we tend to be quite ruckus. So when we play around the table, it's a big sort of mess, because there is a point in the day, and the game masters usually expect it, that we break out into verbal fighting. When that happens online,
Right.
it's you cannot hear anything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
many of us utilize accents when we're all playing. Others are extremely. They move a lot when they want to express something. So that gets lost, in my opinion, on a virtual environment.
And it's an important part of
Of
the experience,
yeah,
right?
the role-playing experience.
Yes. Thank you.
I would have to add something Nina said. During the pandemic, we ran mass campaigns in using Roll20 and Discord servers. But actually, even before that, having a hybrid of doing something online and doing something in real helped us to keep in touch. So I think that we can use, as Nina said, as a tool to help us elevate our game, even if it's in LARP or tabletop RPG, in order to keep the connections between the players, between the interval from session to session. But there is a danger there that we can exaggerate there. So start playing online, even though we can play in real, not in real, live.
Right. Yes.
So from one point of view, I find it very useful. And I can imagine how useful it can be in LARP. But we have to be very careful, especially the creators and the GMs, to keep the balance. And of course, as I think everybody said it, playing live and playing behind the screen is never the same.
Yeah.
But sometimes we have to try to do what is dealt with us. See the pandemic.
Because we had to, right?
Yes.
So, okay, thank you. So from...
There's a hand here.
Yeah, there's a hand here. Oh, yes, go.
Look, so before the pandemic, we have been using a mix of digital LARP RPG for the vampire LARPs of Prys. It is still being used. Some good people in Patras, in a 50 people community, have elevated to a true LARP experience, so it's no more RPG. So in the form of downtimes, in a hybrid form with real life in-game illusions, it is used as a fuel. During the pandemic, we tried to run some. The first one was a couple of agents from different sectors trying to prevent the apocalyptic event. We found it really interesting because there are some things that you just cannot make in real life. So when actually in your LARP characters should use cameras, for example in a spaceship or between agencies, or when characters cannot be in the actual real same space, it does create a nice LARP experience. So I see it as a very legit type of play.
Okay, thank you.
Can I
Yeah,
cheat
go.
a bit?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I haven't actually played online LARP, but one thing I noticed from our game we organized is one additional point, abundance of distractions. Because you, in an online game, you're sitting at your computer at all times. It's the equivalent of coming to a live game and having your phone all the time beside you. So every time when you're slightly bored or have nothing particular to do in that moment, just Alt plus Tab and you're off, and it breaks your immersion, it breaks everything. That's, I think, something which makes all of the other problems you have previously mentioned worse.
That rings true. Yeah, go ahead.
I want to go the other way. Actually, I want to praise them because they are giving you so much opportunity. You can go from the gathered town and the social ones to a very immersive one, which I totally didn't expect. Where, of course, like I agree with 360 that only then I can have immersion. But when you have this threat that they will disconnect you, and you all the time has to be visual, and it's dark, and you are. The plot was that we need to choose who is going to be disconnected because there is not enough power. The power is limited, and you got stress and this kind of feeling that there's no time for Facebook, Twitter, whatever.
Yeah,
so
I'm
the
agreeing
design
with
can help
her.
you.
Yeah.
Then I will just not generalize.
So you
because
said it's a matter of game design.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Let's wrap up this part of the talk or discussion, and say it's kind of a mixed bag, right? It has its advantages and disadvantages. Perhaps we just haven't got used to it the way we might. Or maybe we haven't experienced or discovered all the ways we can use it to make it a real good game. Who knows? I'll just quickly run through some of the advantages and disadvantages that I came up with, and you have mentioned many of them, and I'm really grateful for that. So they are, and this is kind of their biggest advantage. They are generally cheaper to make and run. Because there are no cost of venue, travel, no costumes, so you can make a game without costume and it's not such a big deal. You have all the tools that you need and they are available for free. You don't have to really pay for them unless you're doing, 200 people game and then you kind of have to pay for Zoom because they will disconnect you. Easy and cheaper to make and run. That's really a good advantage. Also, they are easier to change and modify. I'm sorry, Zula is not here now because I think she would agree. The write-up for ROC takes a lot of time when it's offline. It's usually sheets of paper and character sheets and whatnot. Like this, you have it all digitally in one place. Click, 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 and you're done. Also, it can be run from anywhere. So you don't need to go to Choha Castle or, I don't know, to some godforsaken place in the woods. You sit at your home or at your office or wherever you want to go. If you have a good, stable internet connection, you're set to go. That's what you do. And last but not least, there is a very, very low risk of players hurting themselves or each other. I mean, it's still possible because, come on, players, they'll come up with something. But if they don't run around in the bunker or in the woods or in the city streets or whatnot, but sitting at the comfort of their home, they'll be fine, mostly.
Probably.
Yeah,
Don't
drunk
overestimate them.
yeah, drunk maybe, but let's go with the disadvantages. Elektra mentioned screen fatigue, and this is a serious problem. One of the main obstacles we have with this game, when we try to sell it to people, is that when they hear it's on the Zoom platform, they go like, oh no, not again. Do I really need to sit and do this again? And I think now it's going to relate, you know, the
Yes.
corporate. Also, it's heavily dependent on the infrastructure. So if you don't have, it's not only that you need to have a good internet connection. Your players need to have it as well. And it's not only the internet connection. They have to have decent cameras, decent PCs or laptops.
Lighting.
Yeah, I mean, this has to be at least at a similar level to get the same experience. Otherwise, well, there were games that we run and we had this girl who would connect from my hometown of Osijek, and she was all a blur. All the other guys, you can see their eyes, hair, head, whatever. She's just a blur. And I was like, what's wrong with you? Oh, this is my camera. Can you get something else? Well, no. And there you go. You're playing with a blur. And of course, we are kind of used to have all these platforms available. You know, Google is always here. Zoom is always here. You just type in what you need and you play. But they are not always so readily available. They can go down, and you have arranged the game and sold it, and your client or players, they don't care if the Zoom is down. They will be angry at you, not at them. Lots of you said it was less intimate and personal, and I agree. That's a really big disadvantage. Although for some people that might be easier way to play, right? Or to engage in this activity. What we have found, and I'm going to talk about a little bit later, more about it a little bit later, is that there are less teams to choose from. You are severely limited by the format or by the platform you're using and the format you're using. So you really have to scratch your head and go, okay, what can I do with this? I'm not saying that there aren't any really inspiring and imaginative LARPs online out there. There are. But when you compare it with the whole scene, it's not so good. Also, and we found out this in a hard way, they're harder to monitor and control. Especially for us, we are mostly doing the chamber LARPs. So you have a bunch of people in a room or two or three, but they're here in the room. They can go far away. You can just make a few steps and find out what are they doing. Not so much with platforms online. Sometimes you forget your players, as we heard. That can happen as well, especially if you have a large group. This can be really taxing to manage. And also people, as what we said, tend to get impatient. In real games, LARPers will wait, or players will wait for you. They will see that you are busy, and they will say, okay, I'll give this guy a few minutes more, and then come with my question. Online, the pressure is stronger because they don't have this feeling, or they cannot see you, and that they cannot know what are you doing at the moment. So they get impatient. Why am I still waiting? It's been 30 seconds. Come on, guys. I don't have all night. Right. And last but not least, as far as this list goes, it does require a higher level of suspension of disbelief. And this is, for me personally, this is a major obstacle. Because you have to open up the computer, connect, and then immerse into another world, and all you have are these images on the screen, and people who are talking to you. Well, that was a big hill to climb for me, at least personally. Okay, so I'm going to talk about what we did with our game. Initially, this was obviously an offline game. That's what we started with. It was a, standard chamber-lock game for 10 to 11 players, depending on who you're dealing with, and we set out to make it an educational game. It was all about a spaceship with a crew consisting of humans and androids, and the plot takes place in a time when androids are almost self-conscious, and at some point in game the revolution starts. So it's basically a game about human, or rather android rights, and inclusiveness, and dealing with conflicts and whatnot. It was designed to be run in a room such as this one, where players can, you put 10 or 15 players inside and let them, run around, fight, argue, try to solve puzzles, or do whatever they are required to do. We went with this game, and it ended up in Bulgaria on an international tool fair, where we represented Croatia in 2017. So obviously, from what I've just described to you, this wouldn't work online. Anyone want to say why? What's the first obstacle? What was the first thing we had to change? Oh yeah.
Player to environment interaction.
Okay, so players cannot run around, right? We need to think of something to keep them to their chairs. Okay, that's a pretty major change. Our solution, and I'm not claiming this was the best one, but this is what we came up with. Our solution is that we put them in cryogenic chambers, because this is a long journey. For a simple reason, people are not eating and doing other stuff when they're not awake, and androids are not spending their batteries or the currency, so the costs are lower for the ship can go further on. That means we had to put them in different rooms, right? Because each of them is in their own little cell, in a way. So, okay, at some point in the game they woke up, because, they have to communicate, the game has to start somehow. So, what happened? Or why can they just, get up and move and take over the ship and do whatever they want? Oh, okay, that's not a situation we don't have in an offline game. We need a, yeah, okay.
I guess you have a way to figure out who's in the same area as who and they can talk, but not everyone else can hear them as well. So like with rooms, kind of?
Yeah, yeah, it's Zoom, so we use the breakout rooms. Technically, it's a simple solution. So we have to come up with something that will solve this problem. Okay. Obviously, some kind of malfunction would have to be involved to keep them in their place. So what did we do? There was a character in the original game, and that was the only character that was in public known as an android. Otherwise, you couldn't make a distinction between humans and androids. They were that advanced. You would have to stab someone in order to find out whether he or she will bleed or, there will be some wiring inside. So all the playing characters are either humans or androids, and they are not they're indistinguishable from each other, except for one, and this is a little girl that's called Prys. So, okay, let's do something with Prys then. We introduced, in original game, she has no big role, she's just here as an innocent child, needed to be protected. In this game, well, she became a bit of a menace. She was one who tampered with the ship's artificial intelligence, and basically she has locked them in their cells, cryogenic cells, so they can communicate. After a while they can see each other, but they cannot get out until they discover what Prys has done. And after they discover this, they need to decide what shall we do about her. So you see, we have just started or got into these changes, and they are already major. This is a completely different story. So my point would be that you will need, if you want to go this way, adapt an existing game or create a new one, you will have to be ready for putting your story in a much smaller box than it's usually the case with the games we love to play offline. What else? Oh yes. We've also discovered that players are not so keen on communicating via the camera. They will do it, no problem. But what they really, really like is an opportunity to send each other messages. And it was like, watching the iceberg. There's this little tip that goes out of the water, and that's what you see on camera. And there's this shitload of things going on underneath that you cannot really monitor. And that's a very, really big problem with Zoom and every other platform that I know of. If they were in the room, I could hear them. They're in the room, even if they shout, I can hear them. Like this, they're talking, they're plotting, they're doing all this stuff. I have no idea what's going on in the game. I can track maybe 1 or 2 or 3 or 5, but not more than that. Not more players than that. So that's a bit of a challenge, and to be honest, I have no idea how to resolve this. If you have any ideas, I'm all ears. Yeah, go.
Chat rooms, multiple Discord channels in which you're into everything, in every single room, and the app Gilded, it's called of,
Okay.
which also allows many different rooms and sub-servers on one server. So if they're all in there, you can see everything.
Okay, we did consider that, but the problem is, as you remember, people have Zoom fatigue or screen fatigue as it is, and if you make them to use 2 applications instead of 1, and they are not players or gamers, besides what you're trying to do with them, they are not happy with that. And most likely they will just give it up.
And also Zoom is for normal people, vastly more popular than Discord. I played a combination of Discord and Roll20 for some games. We were actually considering Discord because it's rather good, but then opted for a more mainstream solution. It's incredible when you're trying to sell your product to someone. If you make them do a small, tiny extra step of any kind, I'm trying not to digress, but just in a way of a small example, when you have a web page, do they have to click twice on the button to order your product, or could they scan the form for payment? Makes a whole lot of difference. So that was actually a major part of our decision to make it as much as mainstream as possible.
Also, Discord is far less streamlined as Zoom is. So it's more complicated to use for people who are not really used to such platforms. And unfortunately, I would be very happy with Discord.
Yeah,
this would solve almost all the problems, but no. Yeah, George, go.
So your answer will be to design a custom platform. You can, you can have the Zoom integration, you can have the chat rooms, it will be all in one place, so it will be user-friendly, and it will be ridiculously expensive.
Yes.
But still, people wouldn't know that, and that would bring us to the problem they have with Discord.
If you make it user-friendly enough, and it will look like Zoom, etc., but again, it will be very expensive.
But, well, how much money in people power you need to have to prepare something like that, like Discord or Zoom?
And again, I'm imposing, another platform on them.
There's a
No, that's what I was about to say. Still, people are going to be unhappy because they have to download, I think, specifically for your game.
Yes.
So again, this is a problem you most probably face yourself if you're getting into this. Also, some minor details that you, or at least we didn't think of when we were getting into this, making the new game, but it just popped up at us. So unlike the live game, or rather in a different way, Zoom game or online game is a visual media, but needs a scenography in a different way. You can just, let people have, shots of their apartment, basement, or wherever they're playing. But again, it doesn't help really with immersion. So your best action or choice in this matter is that you create your own background for Zoom, so that it's unified and it's it gives flavor to the game. Well, simple enough. In Zoom, it's really simple to make it for Zoom and to use it for Zoom, except not for everyone.
They have to click.
And then you run into people who don't know how to use this. You run into people who are using Apple. And for some reason, some of the Apple computers are refusing to change this background. We still haven't figured out why.
Also, for people with older machines, they would put the background over the person, and you would have some very interesting alien special effects.
That too.
Also on smartphone doesn't work.
Yes, that too.
Sometimes might do that because you have to actually set it up to not keep the changes making the background through the pane or a security tab. If you have allowed the application to open randomly at all times, sometimes the zoom background will kick in without any reason on its own.
Yes, and there are a number of these quirks that you are not aware of, no matter how often you usually use Zoom, because you are going to, if you're transporting the game into Zoom, you are going to discover all sorts of things about this platform, no matter how really simple and easy to use it is. So that's about it. That's all I have for you for today, and I think we might cut this a little bit short because because we're overstepping the.
Yes, and we also need to have a short break before we go to church. So
okay.
maybe
just
Q&A, yeah.
Our rabbi here wanted to say
What
something.
did Chris do?
Say what?
The Android Chris, what did she do?
Well, you have to find out.
You play to
Come on, let it in there.
Let's just say she was very happy girl. If you have any questions, we'll be here till Sunday, so feel free.
Thank you
Come
very
away,
much.
you have no